Hi, I'm Neha, the older, quieter sister, or the chocolate in our podcast, Chocolate and Spice Talk.
Hey, I'm Nidhi, the younger and the chattier sister, or the spice.
I'm an introvert, and my sister's an extrovert, so we bring totally different takes to the same subject.
We believe everybody's stories should be heard and seen, and we plan to share and celebrate everyone's life one story at a time.
Today, we dive into so many questions related to connections and friends.
Is it good to have big groups or just few close bonds? Why is it so hard to have new friends as adults? And what have we learned about each other and connection? So, Dee, I'll start with you. The question that I have for you is, how did you make friends growing up, and how has that changed as adults?
Oh, well, especially growing up, I had no idea how to make friends, and it never came naturally to me. I don't think it's because I didn't want to have friends. I think I wanted to have friends around me. I just didn't know how to. Like, I was so hesitant. And I think I was always worried about how I'd be perceived for whatever reason. Like, again, clearly I needed a lot of self belief, but for whatever reason, I did not know how to share things about my life. And I also, on top of that, thought that if I shared, I'd be very boring. And so nobody would actually want to interact with me. And I still remember, like, I used to think, like, why would somebody want to talk with me? Like, I was never able to really, like, figure out how to just by myself go and connect with folks. However, this really changed for me, particularly in my 30s. And that's when I think what triggered this change was when I realized, I can talk about myself, I can be vulnerable, I can share my story. And I realized, like, I really really like to listen to other stories. I've always wanted to. I've always loved listening to other stories, and that makes me a good listener, and that is also a great way to connect with people. So I think ultimately, as I'm a good listener, and I ask questions and I try to engage in people's stories, I've started making more connections and started making more friends. This change also made me realize, the importance of people around me, because I am inherently a very quiet person. I can be with myself and I'll be just fine. Having people around me, sharing things with them and listening to their stories is a different kind of beautiful experience that I think I was missing out before, which I have finally learned. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, as an extrovert, I never really thought much about having friends. I just had friends. It was so natural for me. I was always the most talkative one in the class, always got into trouble for chatting and smiling too much. And I had this inner circle of friends that I carried even in my adulthood. So I think a big part that is different from your story is that I never felt self conscious, like the way you said that I always thought, why would this person want to be my friend? Like I never had that voice in my head that worried, oh, how do people perceive me, or how do I look, or are people judging me? I was just like, I'm just gonna connect. Doesn't matter. I mean, I tell you the truth, I don't know if I was born this way or something changed, but I was always excited to connect, and that attitude has stuck with me. And then you talked about vulnerability, and I think that is a big part of making friends, especially as adults. So it's a give and take relationship. I mean, only when you share something, give something, you get back something. So I've never been afraid to be vulnerable with my friends, and that is one of the reasons why I have a close set of friends that I lean on so much, and we just figure out things together. And how do you define, like, we talk about friendship, but what is your definition of a good friend? What does that mean to you?
For me, a good friend is someone I can connect at any point. And, like, I don't have to worry about being judged or offending them or getting offended. And that's why, like, and I'm sure, like, that's what good friendship is, but that's what makes it so hard for me, because I don't know if I can trust. Like with you, right? Like, you're obviously, more than a sister to me. You're my friend. And I never worry. I literally tell you everything, and I never feel judged. And to have somebody like that in my life, but that would be my definition. And it's like I can meet with them after decades, and we could start right where we left off. So for me, it's like I don't have to constantly figure a way out to connect with them. Like, I don't have to constantly, like, invite them to my home or call them or chat with them every few months. Like, I don't, my expectation is I don't have to do all of that, but we are connected. Also, I don't think true friendship needs two similar people. Like I said, you're my friend, and we are chalk and cheese. We're completely different. And I feel deep connections can happen with anyone. There's something, like, again, hard for me to describe because I've had so many few, but I know that some of my closest friends are very different from me.
I mean, it's exactly what you said, like supporting without judging. And also, in my case, calling out people when you need to, like not supporting blindly. You need to make sure you call out your friends when you think something is not right. And then also listen. Like you have taught me to be a good listener. Like even though you're a couple of years older than me, and you have always considered me a friend, and you would share so many things throughout your life. You have shared so much with me, and we were never in the same stage of life. Like right now, I think at this age, finally our wavelength has matched. But
Yeah.
for a very long time, our wavelength was never on the same level. Like when you got married, you had a kid, and you would share something with me. I had like no clue. I would listen, but I had like no clue what to recommend or say something to you. But the only thing I knew at that time to do is to be a good listener, at least like sit and listen. And that's what I did, and that's what you taught me to do from the very childhood. So I think that is being a good friend, and also having the ability to say no and trusting they won't get offended, especially after being a parent. I think that is very important to know that if you don't have the time or capacity, you will not have to spend hours explaining to them why you can't meet up or what is going on. So, and most of all, you also said something about picking up where you left off. And I know you have many of those friends, and I am very lucky to have some of those friends too. Like I'll share a small story. I have a friend, Anirudh, and I've known him for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. We used to work together, and we have talked like on and off throughout these years. But a couple of weeks back, I posted on Instagram that, hey, I'm watching Better Call Saul. He just saw it on Instagram and he texted, and we ended up talking for 1 hour, because one thing that brought us together so many years back was our love for movies and TV shows. And we talked about how Sal is the unique person in the show, and how Kim was this person, and how we talked about different scenes. And it was like nobody said, hey, you didn't wish me on my birthday. You didn't wish me Happy New Year. We had like none of those hard feelings. It was pure love. It was just, that is our connection. And I'm going to keep that connection alive. So I live for those kind of connections and relationships. I absolutely love it. So that is something that I absolutely adore.
Amazing. Your story reminded me of a story that I would love to share as well. Recently, I met with one of my school friends after, I have to say, third, well, at least 25 or 26 years
Wow.
later, like 20, we haven't met at all since high school. And she was in Bay Area, and she messaged me and she was like, hey, I'm here, did you want to meet? And when we met, it was like, oh yeah, I mean, of course, you are you and I'm I. And we met and we talked for hours. We just talked over coffee and connected and learned about each other. And it truly felt like we were back in high school, because we were reminiscing high school, and then of course we caught up on everything that had happened in our life, because between high school and now we had not connected. And so, yeah, I would, I really appreciate when people are able to connect that way, and you can trust them with everything. So I love
Yeah.
that.
What is your view on casual friendships? Like, do you think deep friendships are more fulfilling than just, casual?
That's a great question. I am actually a very one-on-one type of person. Especially one-on-one, I connect really, really well, but I also connect well in small, intimate kind of groups. And I love having a few close friends in my life, because I feel like as an introvert, I only have so much energy, and I kind of like try to conserve that kind of energy. And so I spend a lot of like deep moments with the folks who are very close to me and I bond with. Having said that, I do think casual friends that I can meet at any point, like I said, are very important for my life as well. And they are the ones, like, you make friends when you are at a certain job. And I've switched quite a few jobs in my career, so I've made so many friends on job, right? While you're working in that job, you are really close to them, you bond with them, and as you switch, that connection kind of loosens, because it was primarily because of the job that you'd connected. Your network. Similarly, neighbors, right? Like when if you're moving houses, you might have connected with your neighbors, and then over time, you may not be able to connect as much. Friendships, even in that given moment, are important, even if you cannot carry them over on time. But I will say that if you throw me in a large group, after a while, I'll be so tired and I will just go find the quietest, like smallest corner where no one can see me, and I'll be hiding there. Like that's the kind of person I am. So don't
Yes,
throw me.
that's the definition of introvert, right? Like it's not like you don't like meeting people or you don't like making connection, but your social battery is smaller than mine, me being an extrovert, right? I mean, that is, and Siddharth, my husband, and he is an introvert just like you. And the same thing, it's not like he doesn't like going out and meeting people, but he tells me, all right, we have this 1 hour, and please don't spend more than 1 or 2 or 3 hours, like, because I don't want to, uh, spend my whole day doing the same thing because my whole day is going to get so exhausting. So, yeah, I totally feel you on that.
Yeah, it's a time factor. Like, the idea that I can hang out with a lot of people just energizes me initially. But after 2 hours, don't try talking to me because my energy would have drained. Like, I get exhausted very quickly if I have too much stimulation around me. So you're exactly right. Like, it is stimulation. You know me well. You're clearly a very good listener.
I bet. And people come in our life at different time and different season. Like the work friend that you talk about. Like we spend 8+ hours a day with the same people, so we have to like them. And they come, but people quit, or people leave the company, but we still remember them, even though we don't carry them the friendship forward in our life. So I think every all of these relationships are meaningful, and that is why I feel that casual and deep, they both have their own kind of magic. Like deep friendship for me is the one for whom I'll cancel everything and just show up whenever needed. I'm invested in their life, in their career, in their well-being. Whereas casual friendship, it's refreshing. It is, I won't tell them my deepest desires or my problems, but I like occasional chats with them. And sometimes that's what you need, like a different perspective. Like they're not involved in my day to day life, but it's nice to see what's going out outside your, little inner circle. So that
Absolutely.
helps.
Absolutely. And has your approach to friendship changed after becoming a parent, or, even being in a long-term relationship?
Yeah, I mean, after becoming a parent, one thing that I don't have enough is time.
Mm.
It's like initially we would have, before I had Vikram, my son, I would go for a brunch, and the brunch would start from 11 a.m. and would end by 4:30, because, I have plenty of time. And one thing that I don't have is time now. So I'm very mindful of about who I give my time to. So that is always on my mind. That being said, friendship now has become more important because that is the only time when I feel like I don't have to be a mom or a wife. I can just be myself. And that is the time where I kind of, what you say, you fill your cup. It's
Mm.
refreshing. Nobody needs a snack from me. Nobody needs a toy from me. And that is where I can just be myself, talk about my own life, my own aspirations without multitasking. Yeah. What about you?
For me, I don't think things have changed much because, like I said, I always have had a very small circle of close friends, and so and maintaining that is not necessarily top of my mind because I just assume we're going to hang out no matter what. So for me, time was not the factor. I think age overall though matters because right now, like, I connect with my husband a lot and I spend most of my time with him, of course. And I think there is a graph somewhere that shows how, with each age group, you spent the most time with different types of people. So, like in childhood, it's parents and friends. In 20s, it's primarily coworkers. In 30s, it's your partner and children. By the time you hit 40s, it's mostly again your coworkers and your partner. And by the time 50s and 60s come in, it's really just your partner and yourself. So, and the strangest thing in this graph was that you actually start spending more and more time alone as you get older. And apparently that's true no matter what personality type you are, or where you are. So that was, I found that very interesting, that we all have to figure a way out to spend time with ourselves regardless, right? Like over time this is going to happen. And anyway, I wasn't ever a particularly social person, but I will say that when I was single, I did have a larger group of casual friends than I have now. So, now I have, wait for it, none. No,
It's like one, two, maybe. I don't know.
counted by one hand. Yeah. I mean, no, I have a lot of
Yeah,
acquaintances.
you have.
A
But do
lot.
you wish that you were more social, or do you feel peace with the few connections you have currently?
Oh, what a tough question. Actually, such a tough question because you'd think, having explained myself, I'm very much at peace with myself. All my life, I've wondered if I'm missing out, right? Like, also because everyone tells me something is wrong. Our mommy is very social, just like you. And I know she comes from a very good place. And she, even till today, when she talks with me, she's like, "Oh, did you meet them? Did you go here? Who did you talk with lately?" And I usually have no one, right? So then I just start wondering, like, maybe, I'm not doing something right. Like, even till today, I try to read up, I try to figure out, I observe you. I'm like, what do you do? How do I do what you do? And then the other thing is, like, apart from society, research also tells you that social connections are great, and that especially for health and longevity, it's good to be around people. It's good to have a lot of friendships. So for me, then I start worrying. Maybe I need to have a very large group of friends to be healthy. And I don't think research means that. I don't think like research means like have 10 friends and only then you're going to be healthy. What it means is like have somebody you can lean on and connect with and share, and have sort of some community bonding with. Not particularly at peace with myself, but then I would be very lost if you put me with a lot of people for too long. So I don't know what's better for my health. Still figuring it out.
I think you are very independent, and that's what I admire about you. Like if I go back and think about what I have and what you have, I often wonder. It's like one thing that I admire about you so much is you are so independent. You are so self-reliant. Like right now, I am going to have a panic attack if somebody tells me you have to move to a different city just
Mhm.
because my friend circle is here. I have
Mhm.
my monthly meet, like, brunches with them, and they are my support system. But with you, it's like you have friends. I'm not saying that you don't have friends. You have friends, but you've never been so dependent on them the way I am for emotional support. So whatever you're doing, you're doing. I mean, we all have our own thing, right? So to each their
Yeah,
own.
like for me, I can be perfectly content being by myself for a very, very long time. And like you said, I can go to a new place, I'll be perfectly fine because I don't immediately need people around me. And in fact, on the contrary, you can surround me with a lot of people, even people I know, and I can sometimes feel alone. But how about you? Like, have you ever felt alone surrounded by a lot of people?
Fortunately, not yet. So, my friends know me very well, and I'm super open with them. Now that I am so mindful of the time, I wouldn't spend, if I'm not in a mood to spend time with them, I wouldn't do that. I'm just going to say no, that I need space, and they completely understand. But whenever I meet them, and if something is bothering me, I share. Like, I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I've cried with them, I've laughed with them. So I wouldn't say I've never felt lonely in the company when I am with them. So lucky
That's
that way that it has worked out. So far, so good.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. But how do you keep up with so many social ties? I know you said you're not keeping up with as many as before, but still, does it ever feel like it's too much?
Actually, tell the truth, I don't have a huge social tie. I have right now in my current state of my life, I have few close friends, and the circle is certainly not growing. That being said, Vikram, my 6 year old, he is in that playdate era where every weekend he wants to have a playdate. That means there are mom friends now. And now I have to befriend uh, people who I would not have been friends with if it was not for my son.
Right.
So it is like totally different people, but you have to find a connection. You have to find like a common ground to talk about because our kids love each other. So, things we do for our kids. So you just have to figure out a way to connect with them. But the thing about Playdate is that goes with like scheduling, keeping them alive in the playground at home, figuring out snacks, figuring out allergy. It's certainly not spontaneous. It's a lot of work, and that I'm still getting used to. I don't know if other young kids mom will be able to relate with me, but I think that part of friendship or the new friendship is a little bit overwhelming because it just takes a lot of energy out of you to connect with new people and figure out what they want, what kind of people they are, because all you've met is a little kid. So that one is I'm still learning. Right now in this stage, do you feel the need to have a large social circle group ever?
What it, again, this is sort of like the, how do I say that, dichotomy, I think is the word, the dichotomy of my situation, which is, while I keep saying like I don't have a last social network or don't want to have a big one, I actually really love people. I really love people, and I feel like if I'd not studied and chosen the career path that I did, I would have been an anthropologist or a psychologist for real, because I
What? I never
really,
knew that.
yeah,
Really?
truly, I truly enjoy listening to other stories. I truly, but I even sometimes when nobody's telling me a story, I look at them and I'll try to imagine what their story could be and what they might be thinking, and then I try to create a story behind their actions. So that's like that goes keeps going. Like that's why I'm not talking, because that's happening in my mind. So
And that is why you're so creative. I mean, you are creative because I never do that. I never look at anybody and think, make up a story. But it's amazing that yeah, you do
yeah,
that.
no, that's something I do all the time. So while I keep saying like I don't want to be around people, I love sitting and watching people and maybe listening to their stories. And I could spend so much of my time. And because I live in Bay Area in California, for those who are listening, this is a place where people meet a lot and lots of ideas come out. And so I actually end up meeting a lot of new people all the time, like coffee hangouts and things like that. And I love to invite people over to my home and talk. And so, again, that's why I called it a dichotomy, because while I keep saying, like, I don't have a lot of friends and don't have a social circle, actually, I do. It's just that, to your point, how long can I be around people and talk? That's very limited. But you keep telling me a story, and I would keep listening for a very, very long time.
That's amazing. But I do feel about what you said that you want to go out and meet people, but it's exhausting. Like, even though I'm an extrovert, I'll tell you another story. I'm a product manager. So there is a product meetup that happens in Austin, Texas, twice a month. And it's a big one, 50, like around 50 product managers get together. They talk about their domain. It's a big one. And every Thursday, I think this Thursday, I'm going to go to that meetup no matter what. It happens from 6 to 8, or it's not even very far from where I live. There was one time I even got a sitter because my husband was going to come late. I got a sitter. I even took a pre workout because that gives you a little bit of energy.
Mm.
And by the time it was 6 o'clock, I was like, I can't do this. I just can't go. And I stooped so low that I asked Chat GPT pros and cons of going. And I was like, I had this meter. What do you think I should do? I had this decision fatigue. The reason I asked Chat GPT because it was such a stressful day at work. I had made so many decisions that I couldn't make a decision if I should go there. And that's why I just, asked my friendly Chat GPT, and they gave pro and cons. And one thing Chat GPT said that stuck with me, and by the way, I did not end up going. It said, it doesn't mean anything to go to these social events if you're going to burn yourself out. And
Wow.
that stuck with me. And I was like, thank you, ChatGPT. I just needed somebody to tell me that. I didn't go because I was so exhausted. I was forcing myself to go because, I want to learn and grow and all of that. But it's a lot of work after a full day of work, especially on a weekday, to go and put your best social self on.
Mm-hmm.
Even for extrovert like me, it was so much that I I just didn't do it. But yeah, but meeting people, I think that can totally be spontaneous. It's the energy that connects. I think it's serendipitous. Serendipity, did I pronounce it right? Is that even a word?
Correct.
I hope it is. You get what I'm feeling, right?
Yeah.
But maintaining those friendships, that is what takes time. It's like, especially in this age and stage of a career that we are in, it's a lot of calendar invites and texting back and forth and planning a place where we're going to go catch up. It is not as effortless. It's planning. And that is why, like, as I said, I have a smaller circle and I just don't have the bandwidth to maintain a lot of relationships and friendships.
Is there anything about, like, I know you've already mentioned a bit, like, is there anything about my sort of slower, very selective kind of, I would say, yeah, slower, selective friendship style that you think is, or you like?
Yeah, I mean, just the comfort that you have with yourself. Like you have always, like from the very beginning, like from the time you were a little kid, you've always been this calm, reserved, poker faced person who doesn't need anybody. And I don't say it as a joke. I mean, it's very empowering. You have always been like so independent, so self reliant. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she is thriving even though the society says and our mass says, oh, go have community, have social, and that's fine. I know there's a reason she says it, but even if you don't have it, it's still fine. Like you are introvert, my husband is introvert, my husband's best friend is me. And sometimes I push him, oh, go have happy hours with your friend, just because I sometimes I feel guilty because I go out so many weekends just because I have friend circle and he doesn't. And it's partly because of guilt and partly because I do want him to go and connect with different people. But he says, I don't feel the need to. It's not like anything is missing in my life. I'm not lonely. I don't feel alone. I'm very fulfilled. So that is amazing. Like I don't know. I've never been without friends or close friends, so I don't know how I would react if I didn't have that close connections.
You have many people who call you best friends, like your sister and your husband already. And I'm sure a bunch of
It's like I'm winning that battle, but yeah. So,
yeah, yeah, that's true. I've been pretty self-sufficient when it comes to, being with myself, and I absolutely can hang out with myself for a very, very long time. Of course, like if like grass is always greener, so I keep looking at him
yeah,
like,
I know. Grass is always greener on the other side, right? How it's
obvious.
like it is so weird that we think about like, oh, your life is better, my life is better. But it's like we should be so happy with where we are at, right?
Right. Because clearly this is where we thrive. I mean, you and I have reached an age like half our life, and
Yeah.
clearly this is this is
Thank
where we
you for
thrive.
telling me I'm having a midlife crisis, but sure.
Oh,
It's
you're much younger. I didn't mean to
yeah.
hard one, but anything you would like to share? Like, did you have to relearn how to make friends, especially as an adult?
Kind of like it was easier to have friends and maintain friendships when I had so much time. But now the deeper stuff, the kind of stuff that sticks, that takes longer. So you just have to be patient. You have to figure out who is the right fit for that friendship. I know I talked about serendipity and all of that, but still, like maintaining and for whom will you make that time?
Perfect. Yeah.
That is what is, I think, important. Keeping, maintaining, adapting, because different people are in different stages of their life. Like you and I were different stages. Some of my friends, like the one recently had a kid, one doesn't have a kid, and so many different stages. But how do you still connect during those different stages? That needs a lot of empathy, understanding, patience, and that has changed with my maturity. So yeah, I mean, that has certainly changed. But I'll tell you another story of how you and I are different. A funny one. It's like when I see somebody, and if I know that person, I cannot unsee that person. I have to go and say hi to you. Like I'll tell you, we were at the airport, we were going somewhere, and there was a professor who taught me something multiple years back when I was doing my business degree. I saw him. I know that guy. He has no recollection of who I am. And my husband is like, do you really have to go there and talk to him? It's like, I know him. He's like, does he know you? It's like, I don't care. I'm still going to go talk to him. I went and said hi. It did not, he wanted to eat his yogurt. It did not look like he wanted to interact with me. But the thing is, I saw you. I know you. I just cannot move on with my life
Right.
without saying hi. And the same thing, like when we are in the park, when we are on the trail, my husband is the person who will wear sunglasses because he doesn't want to make eye contact with anybody. And if I see a person and we both look, I'm going to smile and say hi. There are
Hmm.
many times when people have rudely just done this. I don't even get offended, but like, I'll find the next person and I'm going to smile at you and be friendly. And Siddharth's like, oh my God, that's why I don't like walking with you. It's like-
This is
Uh,
so good. And you know what? This is the thing about learning, because I have learned this from you. So I do that. So even like this is more the introversion, extroversion territory more than friends. I actually, if I know somebody and I've seen them walking around, I actually don't mind at all going to them and talking. Sometimes, like, when we are in the restroom and I meet somebody who I like, we're just chatting about something and we connect, I don't mind talking with them even further. So that's like something, I think it's a learned behavior, and
Yes.
over time I'm totally okay. And I have learned this from you. I would be the person who would keep my eyes down while walking down the street so nobody sees me, and I pretend that I'm not seeing you. But now I don't do that. When I walk on the street, I'm looking at everybody and I'm smiling at whoever is willing to smile back at me. And like, so I feel like that's something I've grown into, especially seeing you, and I really enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy that eye contact and that smile that comes from it. It just cheers me up. And sometimes you just make a comment, or the days. No, I mean, I used to think having fewer friends made me bad at friendship, but I've come to realize it's not about numbers, and it's about comfort and alignment and mutual care. And while I still kind of struggle reaching out or making new connections, but talking to you just like reminds me, it's okay to be open more. And I've definitely learned so much from you on that, and I absolutely love it. Like, I feel like I'm more an introvert plus extrovert than a complete introvert sometimes, because I truly am okay with meeting new people, and connecting with them. And friendship doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful.
True. And I've learned that it's okay to not say yes to every invite or keep up with every friend. And watching you protect your time and energy has made me rethink how I show up in friendships too. So, whether you are an introvert or extrovert or something in between, we all do need connection. The shape of it just looks different for each one of us.
Exactly. So whether your circle is big or small, whether you're relearning how to make friends or just trying to hold on to the ones you have, you're not alone.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and this podcast. And don't forget, you can find all the episodes, blog posts, behind the scenes, a lot of pictures, and we'll be keep adding more and more pictures as our episodes come out.
Chocolate and Spice Talk.com. Correction. Our website is chocolateandspicetalk.com, and it's up and it's thriving. And we put in a lot of effort adding more of our pictures and more of our blog and a lot more of our point of view than you hear in our podcast. So feel free to check us out there, and we'd love to hear from you. You can also add comments in our website if you prefer that way. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and like Nidhi said, a bunch of other podcasts. So, yeah, thanks for listening to our podcast episode. See you next time.
Do you want to redo the last one?
You messed up real bad.
Yeah, I know. There's no correcting that.